Welcome to the Rock the Stage Show. Each week, international media expert Rich Bontrager has in-depth and personal conversations with celebrities, top leaders, authors, speakers, and media professionals. Now, from the Rock the Stage studios, here's your host, the Trigger, Rich Bontrager.
Welcome back to the Rock the Stage Show. It's Sunday night at 7 p.m. And yes, we're back once again for another entertaining and informative show. And tonight we're going to dig deep into areas that really overlap with my personal life, but my guest's personal life. And I want to ask you, how do you handle bullies? How do you handle people that pick on you, label you, brand you? They try to define who you are, but that's not who you are. They look at the external. They look at the things that you hear and say, you do, your mannerisms. How do you respond when people try to put you in a peg in a hole that you really don't belong in? You push back? Do you argue? Do you shut down? What do you do when they try to put a label on you that's not totally accurate? We're going to get into that tonight with my guest, and you are going to love it. My guest is an actress, comedian, author, and motivational speaker. She is known as the Hearing-Impaired Comedienne. Let me say that again. The Hearing-Impaired Comedienne. She has a video that went viral, 64 million views. That's not bad. But her passion is a nonprofit organization called No Limits for Deaf and Children. Welcome to our show tonight, the America's favorite hearing-impaired comedian, Kathy Buckley, to Rock the Stage Show. Hello, Kathy. Buckley. See, there goes a stutter tongue right away. Right out of the chute, I trip it over.
I love it. My kids at the school called me Buckley. Kathy Buckley. And I'm going, okay, whatever. As long as you call me, I don't care.
I've been called many names, but that was not one of them. So,
what a pleasure to meet you, honey.
Oh, it's so great to have you here. And we are really, really going to have a blast. But I want to start for a second. You had a video go 64 million views.
Yeah, apparently there was nothing good on TV that week.
What was that like for you to find out your video went viral like that?
Do you know, to be honest with you, I'm not into the techie world or the social media world, so it didn't faze me. But what made me feel good, it was a video that had a great message.
Oh gosh, yes.
I think it was the one for forgiveness. I think it's what it was, to let go. So I was blessed that I got to reach a lot of people to help them stop and research their mind, to let go of the garbage that they carry from other people.
Well, I was laughing, I was crying, I was paying attention. It was a very emotionally. Was that unscripted, or was that something you lined out and then videoed it?
No, I can't line out anything. Everything comes from the heart. It just comes from my spirit. I mean, it's like the Holy Spirit just uses me as a vessel to reach the children, to get them to get up and get motivated in life. No, I have no idea what I'm doing half of the time. I just go in the moment and just embrace what it has to offer me.
So, as people are listening, yes, Kathy is deaf. You now have implants, but you should be dead several times over, including a Jeep on the beach running over you.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you're here, but that's pretty freaky.
That was the first time I got laid, too. I said, if this is what it's like, I don't need a man. 36. A ton went over my face, stomach, chest side, and back. I was laid up for about 5 years. I was in and out of a wheelchair for 2.5 years. They said I'd never walk again. I figured I didn't hear them. I got up and I left.
So let's start with the deaf side. What was it like as a child? Because again, I'm deaf from my left ear. Yeah. I tell people it's only there for sunglasses. It has my ear has no other value. But what was it like to being hearing impaired and go through early childhood for you?
Well, back in my day, we're not saying how old I am.
No, because we're probably pretty close to the same.
But back in my day, you know, people never stop labeling. Like you said in the beginning of your intro,
Yeah.
you know, people make a judgment on your external appearance. And this is not our value. This is not our value right here. Our value is what's inside. But when I was growing up, they had told I was an RH factor baby, and because they didn't get a blood transfusion to me fast enough, they assumed that I was going to be slow. And so when I had spinal meningitis, they told my parents that I was going to be slow. So now my parents' belief system is that I'm slow because they believed what the doctor said. But nobody's living in my body. So I was in school for the mentally slow for 2.5 years before they found out I had a hearing loss. And I thought to myself, and they called me slow? And so,
That's rough though for a kid to be put where they don't belong.
well, you know what? I'm going to be honest with you, Riz. It was the best place in the world for me to be.
Really?
Because in that school, among those kids, all of us had a different disability. Everybody had a challenge. So, and nobody judged each other. We didn't judge each other. We didn't focus on what we couldn't do. We focused on what we could do. And it wasn't the value in communication, but what our hearts had to say. So it was a world that I would like to see everybody get involved in. But can you imagine a world with no judgment? It was awesome. I had that for 2.5 years of my life.
So did they teach that right away? The no judgment rule?
No,
We're all the same
kids,
here? Or was that something you accidentally fell into?
kids just kids don't pass judgment at a certain age. They just embrace. And so I embraced the guy with cerebral palsy. I embraced the girl that was blind. In fact, it was best that I did because she had the best barbecue beef sandwiches for lunch. I'm going to tell you, I gave her my peanut butter and jelly. Yeah, she never knew. You know, you deal with it.
So at what age was this for you that you were going through that?
Well, I was 8 years old when they understood my disability. They understood that I was deaf. So it was when they took me out of another school and put me in a school with a teacher who taught me how to talk. She was my hero in that. And unfortunately, we haven't found a teacher to teach me how to shut up.
That happened to me too. The kid that stutters now
Yeah.
doesn't shut up. I went through the same thing of like, he never speaks, he's embarrassed. So please, someone find the off knob on him.
Why do people think that people are different or the weaker of the two?
I don't know why that is. Is it naturally they just expect us to play down? Because I didn't play down either. I kept going forward and kept advancing and trying to prove them wrong. And they kept saying, we need to put them over here.
Yeah, and it's like, who are you to say until you evaluate my ability?
They actually did label us intentionally. There were tests for us for hearing, for eyesight, for reading, for comprehension. They tested all of us from kindergarten to like fifth grade all the time.
Oh yeah.
And they always tried to quantify what we were going to be. Remember even the job test? Did you ever take one of those? What job are you going to have when you're older?
Oh, they didn't have any hope for me to work. No, I never had any dreams. I was too busy surviving, trying to fit in, trying to be a part of everybody else because that's what I thought was expected of me. I didn't understand my deafness. In sixth grade, they took away my hearing devices.
Really?
Yeah, well, I complained them because I was complaining about it the whole doggone time. My God, they were painful. They were loud. It was this big battery pack on my chest and wires to my ears. And when you're deaf, you can't explain to a deaf child about sound. You can see somebody's arms or legs are missing, but you can't see sound. So I thought I was being punished, and I couldn't figure out what I did wrong.
So I had very dear friends. Their mother and father were deaf.
Oh, okay.
I remember going to their home and they had a light on the
Yeah.
edge of the house, when you rang the doorbell, the light would blink. And I was fascinated about all the things they adapted that they could do. Did you go through some of that too? Did you have to have the adaptive life, or did you just plow through it?
No, I didn't have any of that. But I have a telephone that rings that the whole neighborhood comes knocking on my door to tell me. And I'm sitting there with my hands up against the wall thinking the cops are coming.
Kathy, answer your phone. Answer your phone, Kathy.
And they all know when I get a call.
Now, with all this tragedy in your life, with all the pain, near deaths, bullying, did you think you would be able to laugh about it someday? To joke about your life and pain points the way you do, that's a big turn from pain to let's make a joke about it.
Well, it's not really about joking about it as much as it is to see the stupidity of society placing labels and limitations on me. And so the humor came from the stupidity of people making judgment on me that I can't be anything less than a poor child. And in those days, they didn't have the accessibilities they have today. The hearing devices, the cochlear implants, the BiHis, everything has made a huge difference to the point where it's almost impossible for a deaf child not to have spoken language.
Really?
Yeah. And now, but that's a choice. You get to choose whether you want to sign or you want to use your voice. Parents, 90% of the time, parents are the first time they ever met a child with a hearing loss. And they don't know where to go. And so, as you can see, I have no limits on my chest.
Yes.
Well, whatever chest I have. And obviously, the letters stand out more than the boobs. But we don't believe in putting limitations on anyone. We believe in letting every child explore every aspect of life. It's not for me to say what you cannot do. It's for me to put out your options.
Well, being accepted. I've heard you talk about that, and you said, "How dare you try and tell me what I can't do?"
Yeah.
But you are an advocate for people accepting people as they are, right?
Yes. Yes.
What happens when people push back and you're trying to help people understand, accept people as they are? And some people push back and said, but you don't understand little Timmy. And they give us the excuses that Timmy will never be, but you're trying to tell them, let Timmy be Timmy.
I have had parents. I did a show with, do you know who Les Brown is?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, Les Brown had a TV show at one time, a talk show. And there was a little boy that was diagnosed with, he was learning, they were calling him slow learner and he had autism. There were all kinds of labels.
Yep.
The problem with labeling a child, and if they find out what the label is, they won't succeed because you're the adult and they believe you're right.
Yes.
So they buy it. They buy it, take it in. I can't. So I was in the green room with this little boy. And I said, hi, what's your name? And I thought it was Stephen. And then I said, oh, I'm sorry, but I can't hear. Can you write your name down for me? So he wrote his name down for me. And I said, oh, okay, Stephen, yes, I like that name. And then he says, I said, so why are you here? He goes, well, I can't read and write. And I said, but you just wrote your name. And he looked at me like, and then, I asked him to read a little something on the thing. Could you see what this says for me? He was about 7 or 8 years old. And he read it for me. I said, baby boy, you're not slow. You're just holding yourself back. And I got to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I scolded the mother.
Wow.
Because
Really?
they putting the limitations on it because it gives her significance. Because it gives her attention. She gets the attention like, oh, my boy, he's slow and he's whatever. No, you're the parents. You're the one who's supposed to bless them and encourage them and move them forward and all that stuff. You don't put the label on your kid. Least of all, if you're going to put a label on your child, don't tell them the label.
Okay, now growing up, I have bad eyes. I'm deaf
Mm.
in one ear, and I stutter. My mom, as a child, used to with all her friends, neighbors, and they would introduce me, and they're playing card games and meet in the backyard. My mom would tell everyone my shortcomings, my disabilities. Now, she thought she was doing it to help them understand how to communicate to me. I felt you were shooting me down before I had a chance to tell them who I was.
Ah.
My mom didn't know any better because she thought she was going to help me. Do you think there's a lot of people that think they're being helpful, but they're really being painful?
They think they're helping you. Some
Yeah,
some of them think they're helping you, but what they don't know is if you don't live in my life, if you don't live in my house, my body, my house, you don't know what's going on with me. You know what I'm saying? It's
yeah.
you can't just because. And by the way, being half blind and deaf and having a stutter, you're screwed up anyway. So there's no help
Yes, can we
here.
admit that, please? We
You got a list going here, Mister.
are.
No, but see, the thing is people focus on what's not there instead of what is there. There's
Right.
so much that somebody offers. And I even had this experience. I did a camp for kids with disabilities, and the parents were there, and they were supposed to learn about their children. There was a child there that would lay down in the bed, total vegetable, no voice, no nothing. Okay, but there's a spirit in their body. There's a spirit in that body. And when I watched the way that mother dote on that child gave his mother purpose. So don't say that kid didn't contribute anything because she loved that baby. She loved him. And he was a teenager. And my first judgment when I looked at him was like, whoa, how am I supposed to work with this? And I realized the mom and the son are two in one.
Ah.
It was beautiful.
Now, when you started down your comedian actress role, what were your friends and family telling you? Because I know when I started to get into the comedy and joking about my stutter, people were like, "Cool, dude, you shouldn't be making jokes about yourself."
Oh yeah, people say you shouldn't make
Did
fun.
you get a lot of that? Did you get a lot of the feedback of like, "Please don't make fun of yourself"?
No, I got more of. I never forget this little lady came up to me and she goes, "You shouldn't make fun of deaf people." And I looked at her and I said, "I'm one of them.
Right.
Did you miss the jokes?" You get that? And then when I had my one woman show in New York,
Yeah.
and this little lady came up to me, she was so cute, little Jewish lady. She goes, "I will never complain again after the show." She said, I go, "Are you Jewish?" She goes, "Yeah." And I go, "Give yourself 5 minutes." And she started laughing. You know, we got to make fun of our differences.
You've worked with Tony Robbins,
Yes, I do.
and you're a featured speaker on his life mastery classes.
Correct.
In your wildest dream growing up, A, did you ever think you were going to be a public speaker?
No,
And did you ever think you were going to be hanging out with Tony Robbins?
I see Tony as a little brother. I I don't I don't believe. I'm always amazed how people put people on pedestal.
Yeah.
You know, I don't do that. I see the child in each person because who and what you do for a living is not who truly lived within you.
Yeah.
You know, we all I mean, like I always say, we don't get old, just our bodies.
No, I'm
We,
still 35. I still believe it.
I'm 12. How did you get so old? But no, in Tony, I never saw him because I don't hear half of the stuff that goes on. But I see Tony as this amazing, beautiful, loving little brother that I love with all my heart, and that's how I see him. And but then when I see him do his thing, I'm so proud of him because he wants the same thing I want. He wants people to set themselves free from their past belief system
Yes.
and find out and recreate and invent themselves as who they can be today. Everybody gets stuck. Nobody's broken. We just get stuck in our thoughts.
become an advocate yourself. You inspire people by sharing your own life story.
Exactly.
What made you go that direction? There's a lot of direction. As an actress, comedian, you could have gone any direction, but why did you choose? Was there a defining moment you said, I've got to be honest, I've got to tell my story through this?
No, I realized I couldn't be a prostitute unless I had coupons and rebates, so I wasn't going to make much money there. Actually, I didn't plan on being a comedian.
You didn't?
No, it was a dare. It was a dare to help raise money for children with cerebral palsy. I love kids. And one of my friends, Jerry Jewell, do you remember who Jerry Jewell is? Remember the show Facts of Life?
Yes, yes.
She was the first person with a disability to ever land a sitcom. She has cerebral palsy.
I remember it very well. Yes, I do.
And she is the person, she ended up being one of my clients when I was a masseuse exercise therapist. And she ended up being my client, but she keeps moving all over the table when I'm working on her. And I literally had to sit on her butt to massage her to keep her still. But I was naive about what cerebral palsy was. But I had 3 clients give me an article called Stand Up Comic, Take a Stand. Excuse me. But I have no idea about comedy because I never listened to it. I don't, and deaf humor and hearing humor are very different. So I thought if I could raise enough money to fix Jerry, I can give her a decent massage. So it's really all about me.
Now, I'm like you. Because I'm deaf in one ear, I miss things.
Yes.
But I will smile, I will joke, I will laugh because I see everyone else in the room doing it. When you're on stage, do you hear the audience or do you read the body language to know if you're hitting or not hitting?
When I first on the stage, I had keg tennis shoes on so I could feel the vibration from the wood on the floor.
Oh, wow.
And then I'd play off faces that I could see. And if I saw a face I didn't like, I'd move on to another face. So I was always looking for it. But as my technology gets better and better, the audience is amazing. That sound of laughter just makes my heart dance in my chest. And it's not about them laughing. It's about I got them in the moment.
Right. So when you've got them in the moment, do you take it further and further, the jokes, the laughter? Do you embellish it more and more?
Yeah, I won't pick on anybody in the audience because see, you never know what somebody's going through. You don't know. If I'm in a comedy club on April 16th, I don't pick on anybody because they got to get their taxes in.
You're telling very painful moments and then sliding the humor to make it easy to tell the message.
Exactly. Thank you. You really listen. You're the first one I ever met did that.
But it's interesting. You are the winner of the Ovation Award.
Yeah, for my
Your one-woman show. Don't Fuck With Me. Did you write that yourself? Did you write?
Yeah.
Did you write that?
Yeah, it was really weird because they said, I don't write anything. I just work in the moment. And so when my director, she said, well, we need a copy of the script. I go, what script? I go, what do you need it for? I know all the lines. She goes, well, we need it for the lighting, the sound, and where did all this crap come into play? And so I had to write everything down. And I handed it to her, but I never saw it again.
So did you know what was really going to happen when they started working on that? Because they took your script and started to create their ideas?
No, they took my script to do the lighting, to time the lighting with certain things because I went into different characters of my life, parts of my life. And they did it for the sound because there was sound that had to be in there, like the Jeep accident or the flashing light from the Jeep accident. Or when I had the cancer, everything got dark. So I didn't even know that the theater did that. See, this whole world was new to me when I entered it.
How cool was that when you finally realized I've got the words and they're going to paint the picture around me? How was that for you?
That was amazing because it's like when they first put the siren on for the ambulance that was taking me to the hospital from the Jeep accident, I was like, because that was a visual for me. And I was like, am I really going? I had to get used to when certain sounds came in because, when you can't hear well and it's like a baby. A baby is in his own little world, and then all of a sudden somebody yells and they start crying. And so it was a wonderful, wonderful experience. I took it to New York. I had to clean it up for New York. I had to, instead of "Don't Buck With Me," I had to turn it into "Now Hear This."
Oh.
I had to clean it up for New York. Hello, where do you think we got all this dirty word?
But you also came to the Kennedy Center here in Washington, D.C., where I live. You came to that's a big, Carnegie Hall, Kennedy Center. Those are big stages.
Yeah, but you know who was on the stage with me?
Who?
The kids from No Limits.
Now, there we go. Great segue into No Limits because you love all these kids.
We were the very first group of people, deaf speak, at Kennedy Hall and the Kennedy Center and Carnegie Hall. You have deaf signing, but we were the deaf speak. And my kids ranged from, I think they were like 5 to teenage that we brought on stage. And we had a show also called Silent No More for the adults. The adults would share their stories, what it's like, what they went through with having a hearing loss. The rejection, the isolation, the fear of not catching on. And so we put these shows out, No Limits. My founder, who is Michelle Chrissy, she put this show on, and it was to educate. And I was so surprised because we were scared because we had Rochester Institute for Technology, all deaf signing school.
Yeah.
And they came to the audience, and we thought there was going to be conflict. But they never knew how much we suffer being in the middle. So they learned. Because, see, the hearing world sees you as deaf or hearing.
Right.
Yeah.
So
they don't think about the gray area where the deaf speak.
Well,
and we don't know where we fit.
Well, okay, when you say they don't know where we fit, let me just remind you, you have been on The Tonight Show, Touched by an Angel, Entertainment Tonight, Good Morning America, and The Howard Stern Show, in The World's Most Intriguing Women. You've been on TV, radio. You fit now. What's it feel like to fit so much? You're on TV now.
I'm just on the path that God put me on. I don't take any of it like, whoa, look at me, yay, because I got look at me all through my life, but it was limitations of look. And I had to learn to celebrate me. I never knew to celebrate things. I had to learn that.
But you never learned how to really celebrate you?
No, when I did my one-woman show, I had finished. And I packed up my car when I was done with the whole season. I packed up my car and I went home. And a friend of mine asked me, you didn't celebrate what you did? He goes, Kathy, when you go on stage, you are so open. You give so much of yourself to your audience, and you didn't celebrate yourself? And I said, well, what was I supposed to do to celebrate myself? I don't need much in life. I just want to be a contributor. I just want to help. I just want to serve, and I just didn't think of it. So I said, okay, then I went out and got ice cream. And the next day I complained because I have cellulite. And I go, why'd you eat the ice cream? Well, I was celebrating. Well, thanks a lot for the cellulite now.
Do you celebrate now? Have you really found a way to celebrate? Because again, you are noticed, you are recognized, you are wanted. You've spoken for the Air Force, the military. People hold you on stage to let you do what you do to help other people big time. Do you celebrate?
Actually, I was in 9 days and 10 days one week.
I was going to say 1 day. Holy cow.
No, wait a minute, 1 week. And then, so I came home. Have you ever given yourself a pity party? I can give myself a pity party.
I'm good at those. Yes.
Okay, yeah. So I came home and I was hungry. It was 11 o'clock at night. There was no food in the house. I was like, ugh. And I started crying and go, why am I doing this? I'm all alone. And on my wall, there's these pictures of kids that I've gotten surgeries, educational programs set up for. And I'm going, God, I'm all alone. Why am I doing all of this? This is crazy. And I look at the pictures of the kids. Screw the kids, and I was like, one of those moments.
Yeah.
Behind me is a picture of a little girl with her hearts, these hearts being thrown to the heaven. And it said, God, if I give away all my love, would you give me a refill? And I thought, what's my refill? I have no idea what my refill is. And then I thought, God can't keep doing everything. I got to do something for myself. So one of the things that I love is being in water. And when my neighbors are at work, I go in their pools. They don't need to know where I am all the time, okay? So I saved for 5 years to put in a little pool in my backyard for my physical therapy. It's just it fills my spirit. You go outside, the flowers bloom, and you go, "Thank you, God." He's the best boyfriend. And then I go to look at the lizards. I don't know what the lizards are humping about. I have yet to figure that one out. And then the birds, the hummingbirds. Oh, so I appreciate what's here in front of me now, and that's how we should live.
Now, as a person who's had a lot of rough moments myself, I think I appreciate those moments you were just describing more than other people.
Yes.
Do you think those of us that have gone to major trauma, tragedy, do you think we do stop and smell the roses more? We do pick up on the sights and the sounds of the world more?
I think so because I know for me, I don't live for this world. I live for God's children.
Right with you. I'm right with you.
So I think we have an appreciation because we've been put down for so long that we realize that people's words really don't have value if it's a negative confrontation toward us.
Right.
And so we don't want anybody to feel our pain. We don't want anybody to suffer. So we want to make everybody feel better about who they are and who they can be. So I think we've come into the world more with a more generous heart to give and to serve.
You also are sporting the shirt, the No Limits, but you are the spokesperson for the nonprofit
Yes,
No Limits for Deaf Children.
exactly.
Tell us about your relationship there and what you do and what you share.
It's a nonprofit organization for low income families, and I'm talking low income families with deaf children. And we started out as a theater group. Michelle wrote all these amazing little theaters, and what we do is we try to get the kids, we write according to their speech problem so they can work on that in the show.
Yep.
When the kids become somebody other than who they are, they work extra hard on their speech. And it's amazing to watch the growth right there on the stage.
Mhm.
And it was really funny because one day Michelle goes to the back of the audience, where the audience would be. And she's telling the kids, she said, use your voice. Come on, use your voice. Because that's the hardest part for deaf children because we don't use our diaphragm to breathe deep. So we have to get them to breathe to use their voice. So she had to go do something. She goes, Kathy, go tell the kids to use their voice. You can't hear them. I go, okay. So I go back to the back of the audience and go, you guys use your voice. I can't hear you. All 12 of them turned around, looked at me, and they said, that's because you're deaf. And I was whining. I was whining to Michelle, going, Michelle, I can't do that. So we ended up doing that, and then we found out the schools were only giving 15 minutes a week of speech therapy in a group of children with hearing loss, which means they're not getting an education. No. I graduated with a 1-point average. I didn't even know we were collecting points. So I just know that we want these kids to have the best education possible. So we created an after-school program to work with them, their speech, language skills, STEM, literacy, math. We keep them up to their age group. when you work with low-income families, these kids come to us at 5 years old, they don't even know their name.
No, no.
And when you have a normal child, hearing child at 5 years old, they have a vocabulary of 5,000 words. So we had to really work with that and then get them caught up to their age. And we have 100% rate that all of our kids have graduated from high school and gone on to college.
Now, I've got one other area I want to talk about, and I think it's amazing you do this. I've watched the videos, but you are a big advocate of learning to forgive yourself.
Yes.
And it's not something, especially from the comedian side, it's not something I would think a comedian would be delving into, but you do dive into learning to forgive yourself. Why is that so important to you, first of all?
Well, first of all, I learned to forgive situations, issues, and circumstances that have come into my life. And I learned to know that all those things are a story of a part of me. But I look at it like, what's the lesson I can learn from the trauma? I believe there's lessons in everything for us that we go through. But we get caught up in the trauma that we become a victim of it.
Yep.
So what I like to do is try to, it's not always forgiving myself, it's forgiving the whole situation. You know, being molested as a child and going back and confronting the person who did that to me took a lot of gumption. But
Yeah.
I want my life. I don't want to carry everybody's trash. So you thought I was stupid. So you thought I wasn't good enough. So. So what I've learned is that I have the power within me to not carry all this trash. I mean, I'm not going to ask the dump trash, the garbage guy to come in and dump the garbage in my living room. So why should I take the garbage from your lips and hold on to it and cause me pain? So that's your garbage. I'm not holding on to it. So I had to learn to forgive the situations, the stories that took place in my life, so that I can help you to learn to let go.
What happens when you get people laughing, they're crying, they're in the moment, you share a heart-wrenching story, but then you get them to laugh? What's it like at the end when people walk up to you and say, thank you? You got through me today. You made me laugh, cry, but you finally got through to me. I understand this forgiveness thing. What's it like when people tell you that?
I always hug my people. I'm a hugger. I always say I'm going to have inverted nipples forever because this is just who I am. But I'm always hugging. And when people come, you changed my life. You changed this. You did that. I whisper in their ear and I said, if you got anything out of this today, then you were touched by the Holy Spirit. I'm just a vessel.
Let's share your website here, because I want to make sure that everyone gets the opportunity to learn about you a little bit more. What are they going to find when they go to your website?
What are they going to find? I don't even know. I don't look at it. I know who I am. It's for you guys. No, it's just about basically what I'm doing here today. Obviously, I emphasize more with you guys, with you. I just enjoy your energy. I really do. You just have a wonderful presence about you.
Thank you.
You're just gonna see that this little girl that once lived in me, and she still lives in me, but the adult in me gets to take care of her now. She's entitled to be happy.
Make sure you go to hit the QR code, go scan, learn about the website. She's got shows, you got information, you got YouTube things, a lot of great stuff there.
Hire me and come speak to your company. I'll straighten you out.
Yes, just she will straighten you out. Did you hear that? So speak to the young children, the young people that are watching this. They're dealing with hardships. They're getting bullied at school. They're getting nicknamed. They're getting labeled. They're getting thrown in classes they don't belong. What's your word of encouragement for them? Because you've reached the other side. I've reached the other side. What do you want to tell them as they're in the middle of the worst part of their life, or so they think?
Well, for one thing, it takes courage to take stuff from a bully. It takes courage. Don't be a victim of them. Don't. I don't understand bullying, but I always believe that somebody has a story. And the kid who died the bullying is not a happy person. And it takes a coward to put down somebody else to gain significance in their own life. Because you should gain significance by earning it, not by taking something away from another human being. So don't believe that this is going to last forever.
Yeah.
It's temporary. And more importantly, work on yourself and not worry about them anymore. Just continue to work on yourself. Just know. Number two, most importantly, tell somebody that loves you and knows you what's going on. Don't hold it in. Don't become a secret. I held all my stuff in because I had nobody to turn to. And that's why I was suicidal so many times. I had all this stuff I was holding in me, and I just didn't. Why am I here if this is all I'm here for, is to be abused? But I am so grateful the day that they asked me, do you want to go or stay, with the day I died? And I'm so grateful I stayed, because I didn't know there was going to be this incredible life that follows afterwards.
Kathy Buckley, what a great time on the show today. I really appreciate you taking the time to beam on in and talk about the labels, the life, but also the joy and the laughter that you get to bring to people. Thank you for sharing your light. Thank you for sharing your message and being here on Rock the Stage.
Thank you for having me, Riz. I appreciate it.
Kathy Buckley, again, actress, comedian, and so much more, as you have heard. Make sure you check out that website. Make sure you get a hold of her book. And if she's ever in your region, you got to go check her out. You know, more and more we're hearing, from what I see in the news, people are being labeled again. We're being pigeonholed again. We're being bundled into packages that we don't fit in. Like Kathy, like myself, take the time to learn who you are. Step out and go for it. Make your life count. Have a lot of fun. And please don't take it all so darn seriously. That's going to do it for this edition of Rock the Stage Show. We'll be back next week, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, for another edition of Rock the Stage with amazing gifts, unscripted conversations. You never know who's going to show up next week on Rock the Stage. Until then, have a great week. We'll see you then.